Welcome back to another amazing raw food preparation class. Today we've got some excellent lunchtime meals for you to prepare, and we're going to start with salad sushi wraps. Salad, at least sushi, has become very popular at the moment. People are loving it all over the place, and I'm going to show you today how to make salad sushi. So sushi, but using salad ingredients, not raw fish. Let me first go through the ingredients, and then I'll go through why I'm preparing it the way I am. I've got the nori, which is a form of seaweed, and that's what sushi is traditionally made from. Let me take one of these out to show you. There we go. See, it's a greenish, purplish kind of seaweed that's dried on sheets, and that gets rolled with all the ingredients in it. So that's the sushi nori sheet. This you can get at most Chinese shops, and even supermarkets are starting to stock them, so that's easy to find. Next, we've got sprouts from my kitchen garden sprouter, and they're looking amazing. The sunflower greens I got out of my sunflower tray that I picked this morning, and we're going to use those as the base instead of using rice. Now you could use rice, just make sure you lightly steam it so that it doesn't go completely soft. I prefer using sprouts, then I have a salad sushi wrap. So we've got fenugreek sprouts and sunflower greens, and we've got some alfalfa sprouts because they're the most nutrient dense part of what we can add in here, living growing sprouts that have been grown using the kitchen garden. Next we've got some rocket. Rocket's going to give us a great peppery flavor, increase the amount of taste sensations we have out of the sushi. Then we've also got some of the traditional sushi ingredients like cucumber. Great South African cucumber here, and we'll put strips of that in. We've also got avocado, another good traditional for sushi, adding those fatty tones and making it really filling and delicious. And then for color, we've got red peppers and yellow peppers, and those are going to look stunning when we actually cut the sushi up. I'll show you in a minute. Other things we have then is tamari sauce. That's for the traditional soy sauce flavor we'll get from the sushi. You can use other soy sauces, just make sure that whatever you use is organic, has to be certified organic, otherwise you're eating genetically modified organisms or plant material, and you don't want to include that in your diet at all. Next we've got a bit of salt, which is the Himalayan rock salt. You can use sea salt or rock salt. Once again, make sure that you're careful about the salt you use. You're not using iodidated table salt, which has had a whole bunch of processing done to it. Remember, food as close to nature as possible. And then I might sprinkle a little bit of olive oil on just to add a different note of flavor. And those are all our ingredients. Now, what are the ingredients that we don't have here that you normally associate with sushi? Well, the first thing you'll notice is the rice is in here. You obviously can use rice, and it is the traditional way of doing it. It has to be cooked. Putting raw rice in is going to break your teeth, so I would not recommend that. If you want to cook your rice, just make sure you steam it so that it softens. That's about the best way of doing it. If you're going to boil the rice, just make sure you drain the water after you boil it. You'll notice there's all that gooiness in the rice. Once that's washed away, the rice metabolizes a lot cleaner, and it's actually much nicer tasting. So remember to rinse your rice before you use it. Other thing we obviously don't have here is raw fish. Being a vegetarian vegan, I don't eat animal products, and specifically raw animal products I feel could be dangerous depending on how long they've been stored, how fresh they are. Is there parasite larvae in there that can hatch in our bodies? A whole bunch of questions that need to be asked about the sustainability of eating meat and meat type food. So that's something that needs to be looked at on a personal level. As far as I'm concerned, the flavor is still amazing without the fish. What we're using is sprouts and green leaves that provide us with protein, and the sprouts especially are incredibly rich in protein. So we're not losing out on protein content by not having the raw fish in. Okay. The other obvious major issue with animal protein that I've discovered in my research is that it's been scientifically linked to the growth of cancer. And I don't want to be in a situation where I'm feeding potential cancer in my body by eating the flesh of other animals. All right, so enough of the gloom. Let's get into making this delicious food. So let's start with a base of sprouts. And I'm going to take some of these sprouts here, alfalfa, and a few fenugreeks, and then some sunflower greens. Now what you'll notice immediately is I'm placing all my ingredients to the one side, and I'm leaving a gap on both sides of the sushi sheet. The reason I'm doing this is I'm going to want to create a wave that rolls over all the ingredients and then tucks in on the sides. So cutting it in half makes 2 hand rolls. Now, if you're just doing this for yourself, you can fill one side all the way to the end and have one big hand roll. I like to do the 2 hand rolls because they're nice bite-sized chunks. Okay, so remember that. That's a good tip, because if you put it in the middle, you're not going to be able to roll it properly. Next ingredient, let's add a little bit of rocket. Okay, just a dash of rocket. I like the rocket leaves because they're the right length for the sushi, so you don't have to cut them down. Just pop them on top. Let's go for some of the other ones. So a bit of cucumber. Okay, so you just want strips of cucumber. You can use the seeds in the middle of the cucumber, but obviously that will create a different taste and you'll have little bits of seed. I like to just use the sides. Makes the sushi a little bit cleaner on the palate or easier to bite through. Next, we'll put in a little bit of red pepper, red and yellow pepper. And these are beautiful for color and obviously for taste too. So just slice those in half. And then what we want to do with the pepper is create little strips of pepper. And 2 of those will be plenty per wrap. And just get 1 strip of yellow pepper in as well. Remember, what are we going to do with the seeds of the pepper? We're not throwing them in the bin. We don't throw any plant material in the bin. It all goes into your compost heap, or the seeds will go into your actual garden so that you can have green and yellow peppers growing, so that within a very short space of time, you have free green and red and yellow peppers. Okay, so we got yellow there. Just 1 will be enough. Okay, then we need to add the avocado. So let's add some of that. So just cut that through the middle. Pop the top off. Then with a blunt knife, and make sure it's blunt because a sharp knife's going to go right through and you can cut your hand. Just slice lines down the avo. And then with a spoon, just scoop out one of the slices, because then they're about the right shape for your sushi wrap. Okay, 2 of those. Excellent. Okay, so we got most of the ingredients in. Let's add a little bit of the garnish. So just a sprinkle of rock salt and a dash of tamari sauce. Now be very careful when pouring this, because if you pour too much, it's going to go right through and soak everything. Okay, I might even add just a dash of olive oil. There we go. There's so many good olive oils and tamaris to choose from. What you need to do is really support your health shop or support shops that buy in organic ingredients. With your olive oil, just make sure that it's cold pressed and extra virgin. Even if it's not organic, cold press means that it hasn't been heat processed, so it's still in a whole food form, or at least in a form that hasn't degraded the oils. With the tamari sauce, you can get tamari sauce, you can get soya sauce, you can get Bragg, liquid aminos. There are various types of soya sauce, but with the soya, you definitely want to make sure it's organic, because if it's non-organic, then it will have genetically modified items of soya in it, and you want to avoid that at all costs. Okay, so what is the problem with GM or genetically modified foods? It's been described as a Franken-science, where it's Russian roulette with plant genetics, and at the moment there really isn't enough knowledge of what's going to happen if this genetic material leaks out into the environment. So we need to make sure that we're very careful about it. But on a physical level, it has been shown that GM can do things to the body that's detrimental to the body. Now, there are a lot of science on that, things about the brain, things about various organs that can be looked into, and you can look at the stuff. But basically, it's changing the food into a way that we've never seen it in our food supply before. And no one's really sure how organisms, including ourselves, will be affected by it. So it's a very dangerous science, and it's a very real threat to our food supply. Because plants, if they've got a strange genetic material in them, they don't just stay in that plant. Cross-pollination occurs with bees, with butterflies. That's how life is propagated on the planet. And that genetic material can be taken to another plant and it can start spreading. And that is a very real danger for genetic security. One of the other issues I have with GM crops is that the actual seeds and the whole crop is owned by the company that sells the seed. And once that seed blows across into a neighbor's field, technically that neighbor's field is now owned by the same company, because they can actually patent life at the moment. They can patent the life that's in that seed, which is actually ridiculous. How can anyone patent and own life? But that's exactly what's happening across the planet. So what this is doing is it's threatening each individual's ability to grow their own food and own their own food and own that stuff that's growing in their land. You just have some guy arriving one day going, sorry, we've done a test and your soya bean over here has some of our genetic code in that we own, so we now own your entire field. And they'll take it away. And that for me is a very scary place to be in, where we can no longer own what we're growing because someone could come around and say it's been, you've used some of their genetic code. Now, there's a whole lot of more information to do with GM, and I highly recommend looking at Safe Age's website, and we'll give you the link to that. Go along, have a look at the work they do. They're doing excellent stuff. They can send you movies, books, information. Just get hold of them. Back to the sushi. I've loaded everything in. It's all ready to go. Now we need to get into the rolling technique. Now, before I actually roll the sushi wrap, the thing to remember is when you're starting out making sushi wraps, less is better. If it's loaded up with stuff and you try and roll it, it's going to be very hard. It's probably going to go all over the place and you'll get annoyed with it. So rather put in less ingredients, get used to how rolling works, and then you'll have the ability to go bigger. But start small to begin with. So what I'm going to do is show you how that works. You're going to grab the sheet from the back and then bring it over the top. Now what I actually like to do is just to put 2 leaves on top of the gooey stuff, so that you don't have to get your hands all covered in it if you're making a lot of them. So then it's easy to push down on it and just roll that piece over the top. Squash it just a little bit. Keep it tucked in tightly. And then what you'll do is the sides that you've left open, you can push the side down from the top, pull this back one forward just like you'd be wrapping a Christmas present, and then pull the front right over. Okay, so you get almost a 90-degree angle happening here with your rolling. Same on the other side. Push down the side, pull it to the front. See, if you pull too hard, you can tear it, so be careful of that. To the front, and then all you're doing is rolling it over the top. Put it all in. Voila, sushi wrap. Okay. Now the sushi will tear if you leave it standing for a while, because all the liquid we've poured in will soak into it and soften it up. So the quicker you roll it, the better, because it will go soggy. Next, and very importantly, you need a sharp knife. Because if you don't have a sharp knife, it's going to try and cut the sushi and rip it apart again. So make sure it's sharp, and then just carefully glide the knife through. Not putting too much pressure or force, because you don't want to tear the sheet. A very fine sheet of seaweed. There you go. Sushi wrap. How delicious does that look? You've got the colors, you've got all the salad, you've got the flavors, you've got the seaweed itself, which is one of the most nutrient-dense foods you can actually include in your diet, because sea vegetables are the last resource of untampered with food. They're all heirloom varieties of vegetables. They've never been tampered by humans. No grafting, no genetic modification, nothing. Just as nature intended it. And in the West, we don't eat enough seaweed. In the East, they eat a lot of seaweed, and it's one of the reasons they're healthy there. We need to get more of the seaweed into our diet. Not only that, but seaweed grows in the sea, and the sea is a soup of all the minerals on the planet. So the sea plants have access to complete nutrition. They're not lacking in topsoil. They're not lacking in minerals, so they can actually create all the vitamins and the minerals they need in them. So it's a really good, powerful thing to add in. Okay, so I'm just going to put that one down on the plate. Okay. And what you do with that is you make a couple of them, roll them all the way around, and then they'll make a beautiful display of sushi. And when people come to have lunch and they see that, they'll be amazed because I think you're a master sushi chef, and it's literally taking you 5, maybe 10 minutes to roll it all together. And you'll notice we didn't use any fancy mats or anything. It was just put it out, roll it. Okay, so get rolling at home. Okay, so we made our sushi rolls and they're looking amazing on the plate. But what I want to do now is, some people don't like the taste of seaweed, and it can be something you want to get used to over time. But for those who aren't a fan of seaweed, there is an alternative to making these wraps. And the most fun way of doing it is to actually use green leaves. You can use a number of different green leaves instead of the sushi wrap, and it works the same way. It's just a flat leaf that you can roll stuff in and have an actual roll. So the leaf I'm going to be using is this leaf over here, which is an amazing leaf. You can use many kinds of leaves. You can use cos lettuce leaves. You can use different leaves of lettuces that are big. You can use spinach leaves. You can use sorrel leaves. So I'm going to be using a kale leaf. And kale's a really nice cabbage family leaf. It grows very easily in the garden, so I highly recommend buying some kale seedlings and planting them. They'll grow into quite a big, nice cabbage-like bush with these big leaves in it, and awesome nutritional profile in these leaves. So you can see, firstly, there are no holes in the leaf. It's completely solid. If there are holes in your leaf, all your avo and all your sprouts are going to squeeze out of the hole. So make sure that the leaf is actually smooth and there aren't holes in it. What I'm going to do is just take the end of it off, which is slightly bunched up. And then, quite simply, I'm going to take the avocado and instead of using strips, I'm actually going to just scrape it out. So I make almost like an avocado guacamole or mousse. Just run all that out into the leaf. There we go. It's got the avo in the leaf, and that you just lay all the way in the leaf to the end. Okay. Next, we'll put in some red pepper. So we've got those here. There we go. And a little bit of cucumber. There are various types of this ingredient you can put in, but I like to add in a sweet flavor. And sweet goes really well with the fattiness, the saltiness, and the leaf wrap. You can use anything from dried figs to dates to raisins. And actually at the moment I've got a couple of raisins here. So I'm just going to sprinkle a few raisins in. And that sweet element really does go a long way in making it delicious. And then I want to add my greens. So I've got a few more sprouts, some sunflower greens, and some alfalfa, and then just our salt, and a bit of Himalayan rock salt on there, or sea salt. And then I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil. Okay. And that'll be, I think, about it for this one. Now, once again, you can put any ingredients you like in. The main thing to look out for is that you're using something sweet, which is a dried fruit normally. You're using something fatty, which will be your avocado. And then you've got your sprouts or your greens in there. And that's it, time to roll it up. So what I'd like to do is take the end of the leaf, the short end, and actually just run it over the front. And then you can just fold over the two sides. One side and two sides. There we go. So it rolls a little bit differently to the way we did the sushi wrap, but you end up with an absolutely delicious hand roll with all those goodies inside. How amazing does that look? Now this one obviously you want to be holding in your hand because it will unravel, but that's okay. Getting your hands dirty is all part of the fun of eating raw foods. That one down on a plate. There we go. Excellent. So now you have the tools to make your own delicious sushi wraps or salad leaf wraps at home for lunchtime. Get into the habit of making these and you'll never look back. There's something in our culture that goes, we need to eat something in or on something, either bread or toast or something like that. So the leaf and the sushi fills that gap. It allows you to put something in something, roll it up, and it's really good to take with you to work. It's good to take with you while you're traveling. You just roll them in the morning or in the evening, leave them in a lunchbox, and then take them with you. Ready-made meals. Enjoy this one, and we'll see you again next time. There's a lady who cut 2 leaves off her plants, and she put one leaf next to bed and the other leaf in another room. And the one leaf next to bed, every morning she'd sit, she'd meditate on it, and she'd just go, I wish you life, you look beautiful, just like loving energy. And that leaf took weeks before it started wilting. The other one was wilted within days, 2 days, 2-3 days. And you can try that at home and see how well it works.